The past couple of days, and to be honest, the past couple of weeks have been very, very shaky. We're just chopping around sideways, mostly downwards, to be honest, especially altcoins are not moving at all. We're only going down. It's depressing, it's frustrating, and you feel like you wanna just give up, right? You feel like you just want to give up and it's just boring, right? But let me tell you that this is 90% of the time that you're in crypto. But there's going to be this switch that will flip when you least expect it. And it feels like a millisecond. And the next day you wake up and everything is bullish, everything is green, everything is just going up, and you feel severe FOMO again, right? This time will come, and it's maybe days, maybe weeks, maybe months away, but it will come, right? And when it comes, you need to be there. You need to be fully locked in. Your bags need to be locked and loaded with the coins and projects that you are mostly confident in, that you are mostly knowledgeable about, right, and educated on. And I wanted to start off today's video like that because, to be honest, I've been investing into crypto for 7 years now. I'm entering my 8th year now, and this has been 90% of the time how I personally felt in this industry, right? And this means, one, we're still early, but being early also means you're suffering a lot. You're suffering a lot, and you have to take a lot of asymmetric risk. But if you look at something like the Bitcoin spot ETFs in the US alone, we saw $11.7 billion in total net inflows since less than 6 months, right? This is like since January. So all in all, everything is on track for the greatest bull run we've ever seen, for the greatest alt season we've ever seen. You just need to be patient. You need to be patient, and you need to stay on top of the game. You need to stay on top of the game, which also means you need to choose your sources of content, of information, right? Your favorite crypto YouTubers. You need to also diversify your sources there. You also need to read a lot. You need to talk a lot to people. You need to go to a lot of events, because it's really how you get into this flow, into this mode, and find your lane, right? And at the end of the day, you don't really need to catch every single cryptocurrency out there. You just need to find your niche, your ecosystem. You need to find your vertical, right? Whether you're in gaming or whether you're in restaking, more infra related, or just a certain ecosystem like Cosmos, for example. Obviously, that's where I'm focused on here on this channel. But it can also be Avalanche or Solana or whatever you like, right? Anyway, on the ETF side of things, so far so good. As I talked to you on Friday, we see the decision by the SEC about the Ethereum spot ETF in 2 weeks from now, right? And there are some indicators of why this Ethereum spot ETF against all odds might be approved. And if you want to know why and some of the reasons why, then watch Friday's video where I talked about that in depth. But yeah, there's also some more stuff on a government level. For example, El Salvador, which has been one of the pioneers when it comes to Bitcoin adoption. They made Bitcoin legal tender. Obviously, it's still in the rollout phase. And they also, if you watch the debate, by the way, with Eric Voorhees, where they also talked about that, and Nuriel brings up El Salvador that has no adoption virtually. But the truth is also that this is all so early, and it will take years, decades. It will take decades to have serious adoption. And if you did that, you would probably figure out that Bitcoin is the fastest growing asset under the sun, and crypto is the fastest growing asset class under the sun. So anyways, they published this site here. They're holding 5,750 Bitcoins, which translates to $350 million. And yeah, not only that, but also is Bitcoin legal tender in El Salvador, right? And I think more and more countries will follow up, right? Because inflation is still a huge problem, right? Hyperinflation in countries like Argentina, Venezuela, Turkey, right? We see huge inflation numbers that eventually force people into crypto, right? We always talk about, oh, we need to achieve scalability. We need to fix the trilemma. But in the end of the day, what actually drives crypto adoption is the failure of the current system, because it's just inferior, it's just worse, right? And I think if you really resonate with those fundamental beliefs, with those fundamental convictions, and ingrain that in yourself, then I think you can really go through these boring sideways markets phases that we're seeing right now much more easily. Anyway, switching gears, let's talk about Cosmos, the Interchain Cosmos ecosystem. There's been a lot of discussions and debates around the terminology, about the brand, right? Especially after Smokey the Berachain founder, after Smokey the Bera came out and said, yeah, we kind of want to distance ourselves from Cosmos. I also made a full-on video about that on Friday. But yeah, to be honest, first of all, this is nothing new. this discussion has been around for a long time, with or without Smokey's comments, but the fact that the Cosmos brand for most people means Atom, which is not true. Atom or the Cosmos Hub is just one sovereign, competitive layer one blockchain in the whole Cosmos ecosystem. And the Cosmos actually describes the entirety of the ecosystem, right? Cosmos is not just one chain, it's an ecosystem of sovereign layer one blockchains. Now, I've been doing my best over the past 3 years to educate people on that, to make people aware that, hey, Cosmos is not Atom. Atom is part of Cosmos, but it's not the entire Cosmos. It's an uphill battle to fight. And to be honest, people, especially that are newer to Cosmos, that are newer to app chains, that are new to IBC, they don't go and get this information right away, right? They don't go as deep into their research with that. So they don't really understand that, right? Which is why I think elevating the Cosmos brand to the Interchain, which is a more neutral term, a more neutral ground, where you don't have one coin immediately affiliated to that term, makes more sense, right? Especially in a world now where the Cosmos ecosystem is getting mature enough to stand on its own feet and to also have new competition, new main characters, right? I talked about this also in the last video, and a lot of new multi-billion-dollar chains, right? Some of which are even bigger than the Cosmos Hub today. For example, Fetch AI. And Fetch AI is going to be even bigger after the super intelligent alliance, or how they call it, after this new alliance about AI is going to happen, right? When the merge happens with Ocean Protocol, Singularity Net, and Fetch. So this is just one example, right? Then you have Celestia itself, right? Celestia itself is a Cosmos app chain for block space, but they're not out there all the time and saying we're Cosmos, right? They're also kind of distancing themselves from the Cosmos brand, even though they are Cosmos. Then you also have Say Network, right? Say Network is also distancing themselves from Cosmos. They're just aligning more with the Ethereum community, with the EVM parallelization as a narrative, and not Cosmos ecosystem as a narrative. And Say is a full-on Cosmos chain, right? I did an interview with Jay here on the channel a long time ago, and Say is a full-on Cosmos blockchain. DYDX, same thing. Now we have Berachain, same thing. So this is not something that's from yesterday. This has actually been something that's ongoing for years now. And the interchain is also not a new term, right? It's not a rebranding in that sense, because this term has also been around for many years. It's a tagline of the Cosmos Twitter account. The foundation in Cosmos is literally called the Interchain Foundation, not the Cosmos Foundation. So it's really not a rebrand in that sense. And that's also not what I'm kind of alluding to here, even though for some people it might sound like a rebranding, but it's basically elevating the brand Cosmos into something bigger that can also capture the entire crypto market, right? Because in the end of the day, the Cosmos vision is to build the internet of blockchains, right? Which means that every chain eventually will become part of that new internet, right? And the interoperability standard in that new internet is IBC. That's what cosmonauts believe in, right? And for IBC to really be adopted in every single chain, it also needs a neutral narrative around it, which is why I'm bullish on the term interchain for describing the entirety of the crypto markets and not just Cosmos SDK built chains, right? Because maybe in the future, there's also going to be a path for non-Cosmos SDK chains to become Cosmos compatible by implementing IBC. And that might also be then referred to as the broader Cosmos, extension or Cosmos ecosystem, which can just be summarized in one term, the interchain. Anyways, this is my take on that. There's obviously a lot of nuance to it, a lot of detail to it. I personally also think that the Interchain Foundation should have taken a lot more of a proactive approach here. But I also feel that there is now a new generation, like I was just describing. I would even count Kronos in there, Injective, some of the OG chains, Thor chain, right? Even Terra, since the beginning. Terra is a full-on Cosmos chain and always has been. Thorchain is a full-on Cosmos SDK blockchain, right? That doesn't have IBC implemented yet, but I think they will do that in the future, at least for Rune as an asset. But what if all these chains were more aligned to fund and co-fund initiatives that are affecting developer onboarding, user onboarding, and just grow the adoption of the Interchain, right? Which means bringing IBC out there, bringing the core technology stack out there, right? And forming an aligned spirit amongst the builders and developers, right? I really would love to see something like that, an Interchain Alliance or something, which is basically ICF 2.0, right? ICF on steroids. And I think this is something that the Cosmos ecosystem would massively benefit from. At the same time, this would also clear the pathway for the Cosmos Hub to claim more and more, or maybe to even fully claim the Cosmos brand, which is currently the left curve take on Cosmos anyways, right? Like I said earlier, I'm having a hard time educating people on Cosmos because they immediately think it's Atom, right? Which is not. So they want to hear about other coins. And when I say Cosmos, they think I'm talking about Atom, but I'm actually not, right? So yeah, this is the struggle that I have as a content creator. And the same struggle we have at Cosmoverse, because people that are not deep in Cosmos, they don't know that, right? But yeah, so this is the left curve take anyway. So let them just, let them just own that brand. And yeah, this is probably also something which could strengthen the role of Atom and the Cosmos Hub to actually become a decentralized interchain service provider. We talked about it a lot: security aggregation, Babylon for Bitcoin staking, and then eventually also EigenLayer restaked ETH that will become compatible with the Cosmos Hub. That could actually make the Cosmos Hub a serious contender to be a place to launch chains, right? To launch your own chain. Anyways, this is my general take on that. But yeah, when it comes to ramping up BD efforts and all these kind of things, I think there needs to be a lot more alignment within the broader Cosmos, but also within the Cosmos Hub itself. But maybe that's a topic for a separate video. And I actually want to ask you here on YouTube, the YouTube audience, what is your take on that, right? What is your take on Cosmos ecosystem interchain? It's a poll here, but I would love you to comment your thoughts. What do you think about what I said? Your thoughts about interchain, Cosmos ecosystem, Atom's role in all of that, Smokey's comments here. And yeah, just let me know what you think there. Anyways, looking more deeper into the Cosmos ecosystem or the interchain itself, we can see the top gainer here today is actually Mars Protocol. And that might be no surprise because there's now this rumor going on, being teased here, even by the Mars Protocol Twitter account, where Doko said, seems a lot. I don't think we need this much. 557 million Mars tokens that are in the Mars community pool, which equates to around 55% of the total supply. The total supply of Mars tokens is 1 billion, and 557 million are in the community pool. If half of this would get burned, this would decrease the total supply by 25%, and with it also the FDV, right, the fully diluted market cap. To be honest, on a fundamental layer, it might not have an impact, but obviously on a positioning and perception layer, because obviously a lower FDV makes the coin more interesting for investors. Yeah, I haven't fully looked into the conversations here, but yeah, anyways, this is just something to keep an eye on, and maybe the reason why Mars is pumping today. But yeah, if you look at other chains, and I think, by the way, Mars also has more information coming up, more alpha during this month, in terms of the product, but also the chain itself. So stay tuned for that. Another winner today, Humans AI, which is an AI chain that's optimized for a lot of use cases, including voice cloning and AI translation, which is something that I am really eager to use, which we're actually already using, but we're using a centralized provider called HeyGen. Yeah, also stars up 1%, still below 2 cents, which is absolutely a cheap AF in my opinion. But also Stargaze needs to work a lot on getting more buzz, especially outside of the core Cosmos ecosystem. Akash Network, relatively stable, actually very stable, $5.55. It went above $6 yesterday. So yeah, even though everything else was kind of going downwards, AKT went up, and AKT is one of the strongest bags that I'm holding, right? It's actually now the biggest bag in my portfolio by far, actually, because I bought a lot of AKT at 25 cents. So yeah, AKT, very excited that I caught this at those levels. And yeah, I think Akash has a bright future. I talked about it also in Friday's video with this new integration from Eric Voorhees' new project, Venice.ai. So yeah, check that out as well. Anyways, I want to leave you. I talked about it a lot in context of the Interchain and Cosmos ecosystem. But yeah, these are really I guess, the new main actors in the Cosmos ecosystem, right? Obviously, we have the legacy chains, of which I would also include Akash Network, Fetch AI, Injective, right? Stargaze, and many of them are going to do extremely well, right? But now we also have this new generation of Cosmos chains, right? Celestia, DYDX, Saga is also one, right? Optimized for gaming. We have Movement, which is also part of the modularity ecosystem, right? Which is bringing the Move VM basically into the Cosmos ecosystem, also fully IBC enabled. Berachain, right? Maybe some cosmonauts are a little bit allergic to the word Berachain now, but this is definitely something you can't ignore, right? You can't ignore. And Berachain is also Cosmos SDK built chain, right? Polaris is an innovation that was actually coming up in Cosmos land, right? So yeah, check that out as well. Then we have Babylon. I talked about it a lot. Bringing Bitcoin staking, introducing Bitcoin staking to the world, which is a huge, huge innovation. Then we also have Namada for ZK privacy, something that is launching very, very soon, where we also as Atom stickers are getting a juicy airdrop for. I also, by the way, have a full-on video on ZK privacy and ZK scalability coming very, very soon. But this is a very interesting video where I learned a lot preparing for the video and actually shooting the video. And yeah, those are just some of the projects that you can do your research on, especially during times like this, right? If sell and may go away is true, that means the next couple of weeks are going to be super boring. So you have to do your research on those projects because they are going to be the main actors, the main characters this cycle. And there's a lot more, right? But yeah, this is just my thoughts. Also, big shout out. We just crossed 53,000 subscribers here on YouTube. Big shout out to all of you. And I strongly urge you to really watch the latest video where I talked about a lot of the things that I was mentioning today as well. It's a 28-minute video, but if you watch it in 2x, it's only 14 minutes and you can get everything. Also, this one where I talked about also the day when the kind of bear news came out, when Smokey's comments came out. But yeah, even some other chains here, right, that I mentioned, some other videos that you should really watch, Lava, Axelar news as well, and so on and so forth. I hope you enjoyed the video. Great start to the week, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Until then, stay safe and be good.